Good morning, pre-algebra class. Here we are. We are almost done. So yay. Getting ready for the end of the year. Let's go back and let's do some things that are going to be really important for you as you get ready for Algebra 1 and then after that geometry. It's important to understand a little bit about ratios and a special type of ratio called a rate of change. So we're going to take a look at ratios. Ratios, as you might remember, is nothing more than a comparison of two numbers by division, which really, when you think about it, is what a definition of a fraction would be. But ratios are a little bit special, and we'll kind of unpack why and how just over the next number of minutes. So I want you to picture you've got a nice fish tank in your room or in your house somewhere, and in there's 5 red fish, 2 blue fish, and 8 orange fish. And we can make several different types of ratio or comparisons in this fish tank. The simplest one would be to compare two colors of fish, the number of red fish compared to the number of orange fish. There's 5 red fish and there's orange red fish. That means for every 5 red fish, there are 8 orange fish, so the ratio is 5 to 8. You can do it in words, 5 to 8, or you can do it with a double dot like this, 5 to 8. The ratio is 5 red fish to 8 orange fish. Or you can make it into a fraction, 5/8. 5/8 is probably your most familiar, especially when we get to the idea of reducing. Because just like fractions can be reduced, ratios need to be reduced no matter what form you find them in. So with the same fish tank, we can consider the ratio of blue fish to orange fish. So if we're doing that, we have 2 blue fish and 8 orange fish. So we would say, okay, 2 to 8. But the thing is that's not in lowest terms. If I write out the 2 over 8 as a fraction, that's the easiest way for you to see, oh yeah, I need to reduce that thing. 2 goes into numerator and denominator, so you can divide numerator and denominator by 2 and get your lowest terms of 1/4. So you can say that the ratio of blue fish to orange fish is 1 to 4, or you can write it in this form, 1 to 4, 1 blue fish to 4 orange fish, or as a fraction, once again, 1 blue fish to 4 orange fish. And you are always making sure and being careful to write it in lowest terms. And once again, a ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. You can also compare to a total. And comparing to a total is a little bit special. If I want to compare the number of red ones to all the fish in the whole tank, we have a little bit more work to do. We know there's 5 red fish, that's what we start with. But we need to also consider the total fish in the tank. You know, there's 5 reds and 2 blues. That makes 7. 7 plus 8 makes 15 fish altogether. So we have 15 fish altogether. So 5 out of the 15 fish happen to be red fish. So you divide the numerator and denominator by 5. You're reducing to lowest terms as always. So you don't say 5 to 15. You reduce it so that you have 1 red fish to the total number of fish. They're a 1 to 3 ratio of red fish to total fish. 1 out of every 3 fish is red. 1 to 3. 1 out of every 3 fish is red. Now this way of writing it with the word out of is a little special because you have to be dealing with a total number in order to use the term out of. Otherwise you just say it's 1 to 3, 1 out of 3, 1 red fish to every 3 total fish. Okay, so you've got to make sure you're careful of what you're comparing to and then also reducing the fraction. This is one one of the only times where we care about leaving a 1 in the denominator. All the fractions have to have two parts, the numerator and denominator, especially when you deal with ratios. In fractions, sometimes they disappear, but let's take a look at the ratio of orange fish to blue fish, which almost sounds like the same when we did blue to orange. But orange to blue puts 8 in the numerator, so when you reduce that and you get 4 over 1, it's a 4-to-1 ratio. And you can't really express it as a ratio if you leave the denominator blank. Because you all know that 8 divided by 2 is just 4. But in order to make it in ratio form, you have to leave the denominator, because there are 4 orange fish for every 1 blue fish. It's a 4-to-1 ratio of orange fish to blue fish. Okay, so be careful of that. Now, that being said, we have a special kind of ratio called a rate. A rate is special in that it compares one type of unit to another. So, for example, a cost per unit. And costs per unit come out very often when you're in the grocery store or any kind of store. You'll see that little tag and you'll have the total price, but then underneath there'll be some kind of cost per unit price. We'll talk about that slightly in a little bit. You can use miles per gallon. In other words, how many miles you can drive on 1 gallon of gas. You can do miles per hour, which is how far you can go in a certain amount of time. Beats per minute, that would be for heart rate. A unit rate, which a lot of times we just use the word rate for, is when you simplify it down so that you get a 1 in the denominator, even if the numerator becomes a decimal. So your unit rate is comparing it to 1, and it's more like a division problem than what you think about as being a ratio, but technically it's a ratio with 1 in the denominator. So, for example, if you're at the store and you have a 12-ounce bag of coffee and it costs $5.99 and you want to find the cost per ounce. Well, why would I want to do that, you ask? Well, you might want to compare it to another bag of coffee and find out what's the better buy. But on the tag they have a unit cost. Yes, they do, but sometimes they mess around with your unit cost so that they have one in terms of cost per pound and one in cost per ounce. And if you don't know your math, you can't figure out really which is the better buy. So we're going to take a look at making this so that you know how much you're paying per ounce. Now, a lot of times, especially on small things in a grocery store, you're going to want to make the dollars and cents into all cents. So $5.99 is 599 cents. The easiest way to do that is just move the decimal over 2 places. And then you're comparing how much money per ounce. That means that the ounces go in the denominator and the 599 cents go in the numerator. We want to find out about how much that equals. The squiggly equals sign means about. So I need to take 599 divided by 12. Okay, and you know how to divide it out, but what you see is that as you do the dividing, you keep adding zeros, and you could keep on doing that forever. We don't want to keep on going forever. We just want to be able to round to the 10th place. So when you get to the 100th place, stop and see if it rounds up or it stays the same. So this is about 49.9 cents per ounce is the cost of this coffee per ounce. For each ounce that you buy, you spend 49.9 cents about. Okay? And that will be good for price comparison. You can go 286.3 miles on 12 gallons of gas. There's a couple different good reasons why you'd want to know that. You want to know how many miles per gallon or the unit rate that you can go. You might want to make sure that you have enough gas in your tank and enough money to buy that gas, so it's good to know how much your gas mileage is going to be. So 286.3 miles in 12 gallons, and you're going to need to do the division problem. 286.3 divided by 12. When you do that, we want to round to the tenths place, so you need to go to the hundredths place when you do your division, and then round to this tenths place, so about 23.9 miles per gallon. That means that each gallon of gas you have will get you almost 24 miles down the road, and you want to make sure that you have enough gas to do that. And so you can use that information. Okay. It's also good to find out if your fuel economy, so that you can find out if there's some things that you do, if you can make this number a little higher, like if you keep your car tuned up the way it's supposed to be. So one of the useful things that you can do with unit rate is compare the cost of a couple of different things and make sure that you're getting the best buy. Now say, okay, so you've got 2 bags of candy. One of them costs $3.65 and one costs $4.95. One you're getting 12 ounces of candy and the other you're getting 16 ounces. Now at first glance you might say, well, I just want to buy candy. I want more candy, so that I'm going to buy the bigger bag and pay a little bit more. You want to find out for sure if that's going to be the most economical. The better buy is the one that gives you the less cost per ounce. Sometimes it'll be the bigger bag, but sometimes it'll be the smaller bag, so you should be able to do the math to figure out what's the better buy. So for the 12-ounce bag, we have 365 cents out of 12 ounces, so we're going to be getting how many cents per ounce? 495 cents divided by 16 ounces. So what you can do is you can divide them out. You don't have to divide out forever. All you have to do is divide out until you find a difference in place value. So when I start dividing these out, okay, 365 divided by 12, the 3's match up, I need to keep going. The 0's match up, I need to keep going. However, when I get to this decimal place, I find that I have a 0.4 for this one, and I find that I have a 0.9 for this one. So I can already tell that even if I don't go on till that I can do the rounding, what I found is 30.4 with something out the end and 30.9 with something out at the end. This one actually has a bigger number. So it costs more per ounce. Well, when you're thinking about what's the better buy, that's bad. You want the one that has a little less cost per ounce. So the 12-ounce package is actually the better buy because you're paying less for each ounce of that candy. Okay? So there's other things that go into deciding which bag of candy you're going to buy, but if you're strictly going by what's the most economical, what's the better buy, in this case it's the 12-ounce bag. If we had divided it out and found out that you got a lower cost per ounce for the 16-ounce bag, then we would say, oh, the 16-ounce bag is a better buy. And so you have that to consider and figuring out what's the better buy. So when you do your homework, which your assignment is going to be, you work on it and turn it in tomorrow. So make sure that you've got some good notes down for today, and you'll be turning it in tomorrow. There's no additional video tomorrow, so we're taking your time. You're doing your best with every single problem. Make sure you're checking your work, and that will be good. We are almost done. Yay. Okay. God bless you and have a great day.